The complete works of Swami Vivekananda, Vedanta in all its phases, address by Swami Vivekananda at Calcutta, Part 8. According to the dualistic sects of India, the individual souls remain as individuals throughout, and God creates the universe out of the pre-existing material only as the efficient cause. According to the Advaitists, on the other hand, God is both the material and the efficient cause of the universe. He is not only the creator of the universe, but he creates it out himself. That is the Advaitist position. There are two dualistic sects who believe that this world has been created by God out of himself, and at the same time God is eternally separate from the universe, and everything is eternally subordinate to the ruler of the universe. There are sects too who also believe that out of himself God has evolved this universe, and individuals in the long run attain to nirvana to give up the finite and become the infinite. But these sects have disappeared. The one sect of the Advaitists that you see in modern India is composed of the followers of Shankara. According to Shankara, God is both the material and the efficient cause through Maya, but not in reality. God has not become this universe, but the universe is not, and God is. This is the one highest points to understand of Advaita Vedanta, the idea of Maya. I am afraid I have no time to discuss this one but most difficult point in our philosophy. Those of you who are acquainted with Western philosophy will find something very similar in Kant. But I must warn you that those of you who have studied Professor Max Muller's writings on Kant, that there is one idea most misleading. It was Shankara who first found out the idea of the identity of time, space and causation with Maya. And I had the good fortune to find one or two passages in Shankara's commentaries and send them to my friend the professor. So even that idea was here in India. Now this is a peculiar theory. This Maya theory of the Advaita Vedantists. The Brahman is all that exists, but differentiation has been caused by this Maya. Unity, the one Brahman, is the ultimate, the goal, and herein is an eternal dissension against between Indian and Western thought. India has thrown this challenge to the world for thousands of years, and the challenge has been taken up by different nations, and the result is that they all succumbed and you live. This is the challenge, that is, this world is a delusion, that it is all Maya, that whether you eat off the ground with your fingers or dine off golden plates, whether you live in palaces and are one of the mightiest monarchs or are the poorest of beggars, death is the one result. It is all the same, all Maya. That is the old Indian theme, and again nations are springing up trying to unsay it, to disprove it, becoming great with enjoyment as their watchword, power in their hands. They use that power to the utmost, enjoy to the utmost, and the next moment they die. We stand forever because we see that everything is Maya. The children of Maya live forever, but the children of enjoyment die. Here again is another great difference. Just as you see the attempts of Hegel and Schopenhauer in German philosophy, so you will find the very same idea brought forward in ancient India. Fortunately for us, Hegelianism was nipped in the bud and not allowed to sprout and cast its baneful shoots over this motherland of ours. Hegel's one idea is that the one, the absolute, is only chaos, and that the individualized form is the greater. The world is greater than the non-world. Samsara is greater than salvation. That is the one idea, and the more you plunge into this samsara, the more your soul is covered with the workings of life, the better you are. They say Do you not see how we build houses, clean the cities, enjoy the senses? Behind that they might hide rancor, misery, horror, behind every bit of that enjoyment. On the other hand, our philosophers have from the very first declared that every manifestation, what you call evolution, is vain, a vain attempt of the unmanifested to manifest itself. I, you, the mighty cause of this universe, trying to reflect yourself in the little mud puddles. But after making the attempt, for a time you find out it was all in vain and beat a retreat to the place from whence you came. This is Vairagya or renunciation. At the very beginning of religion, how can religion or mortality begin without renunciation itself? The Alpha and the Omega is renunciation. Give up, said the Veda. Give up. This is the one way give up. Neither through wealth nor through progeny, but by giving up alone, that immortality is to be reached. That is the dictate of the Indian books. Of course, there have been great giver-ups of the world, even sitting on the thrones. But even King Janak himself had to renounce. Who was a greater renouncer than he? But in modern times, we all want to be called Janaks. They are all Janaks of children, unclad, ill-fed, miserable children. The word Janak can only be applied to them in that sense only. They have none of that shining godlike thoughts as the old Janak had. These are our modern Janakas. A little less of this Janakism now and come straight to the mark. If you can give up, you will have religion. If you cannot, you may read all the books that are in the world from east to west, swallow all the libraries, and become the greatest of pundits. But if you have karma kand only, you are nothing. There is no spirituality. Through renunciation alone, this immortality is to be reached. It is the power, the great power that cares not even for the universe. Then it is that the whole universe becomes like a hollow made by a cow's foot.